We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and our Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 139 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk.
I'm very excited for this week's show as all, and a lot of great stuff to talk about, obviously. And the Wednesday Night Wars are over, and we're in another new era of pro wrestling. I don't know.
Yeah, you're giddy.
We're on the other side of WrestleMania. Anything can happen, right?
You're giddy about people losing their job, James. Come on.
I didn't say that.
You said a lot of good stuff we were going to talk about. Come on, sir. Get it together.
I mean, it could be a good thing for them because they have an opportunity to go ahead and do some other things. And obviously some other people are returning to certain companies. And we'll talk a little bit about that. There was a contract, full-time contract signing in a company other than AEW and WWE. So we'll talk about that as well.
All right, we will. But first, we got to give a little promotion to our socials, right? You can follow me on Twitter at EthanMB95. Of course, give me all those follows. I'm a very, very active person on Twitter. You can follow James at
JHW Reporter,
who's also very active on social medias, and Rob, who isn't active on Twitter, but go ahead and if you want to follow him, you can follow him too. Where can they find you at, Rob?
Rob Flores Media, and send Ethan some R-Truth DMs. Don't
slide into my DMs because I don't know if they're open. They're probably open, but I'm going to close them up. So don't try it. You can follow the show at Real BTR Radio and Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes, as well as just search up Beyond the Ropes and you'll find 138 episodes currently uploaded there. So try that out for sure. Let's talk about the big news coming out of the last 10 days or so. WWE's post-Mania cuts. They fired 10 superstars in one day. That's right.
Was it 10?
It was 10. James over here forgetting names here.
I thought it was like 8 or 9.
Well, there was 10 later on. So, and believe it or not, I can't believe it. R-Truth still has a job. Wait a minute.
You think R-Truth should lose his job?
Oh, I didn't say that. I just said, believe it or not, he still has a job. I didn't say he shouldn't have a job.
Okay. All kidding aside, like, do you honestly think he's someone who would have or should have gotten cut?
Probably not. I mean, they're
okay. I was just checking.
Although
Rob is claiming in the chat that R-Truth has reached Macho Man status and a deal similar to Slim Jim with this Old Spice commercial. I don't necessarily think that's what's happening.
Nobody uses Old Spice, Rob. Nobody uses Old Spice.
That's kind of fair. I mean, once or twice.
I used it once. I think I used it once. But yeah. Anyways, let's talk about, let's get more serious here. The 10 releases. So I'm just going to go through the names first, and then we can go one by one. Kind of maybe briefly talk about what they did in the company, and then talk about, maybe their upside or, why they may have gotten released or maybe they shouldn't have gotten released. Not that anyone should lose their job, especially during a pandemic, but, these things happen every year.
Yep.
Last year was really bad because they released people from the corporate standpoint and everything. But sticking to this year, let's go through the 10 names that were released. Starting off with Samoa Joe, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Callisto, Bo Dallas, Mojo Rawley, and Wesley Blake were the 10 wrestlers that were released.
So from those, can we start maybe with two people who can have the biggest impact or biggest potential future post WWE? Obviously, Samoa Joe's the first one. We could start with Samoa Joe, or we could save him for last.
No, let's start with Samoa Joe because that was the biggest shocker for, I believe, many people.
Yeah.
When he came up,
So, like for me personally, I don't know if I would call it a shocker. I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, I guess it's shocking because, I mean, if you trust the guy, you like a guy enough. I mean, one, you'd put him in the ring, obviously, but having him on the commentary team and him sticking it out, him wearing a clear poncho during a rain delay before the start of WrestleMania Night 1. And there's that meme going around where he was looking like, what am I doing here while he was in that poncho? Obviously there's trust there to have him on camera, to have him on your biggest show. But I think what it comes down to is he wanted to wrestle. I'm trying to remember what situation we've seen before. Well, it's kind of like the Daniel Bryan and even maybe Edge at one point where these guys wanted to get cleared and they couldn't. I guess actually Christian is probably the best example, right? Of guys who wanted to get clear. They weren't going to really get cleared in WWE, so they're going to have to go elsewhere. And I don't know. It hasn't really been said. It's like a mutual parting of ways for both Samoa Joe and WWE, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to because they just weren't really ready to have Samoa Joe back in the ring. I mean, we did see Christian, but how many years was that after the fact? We saw Daniel Bryan return. We saw Edge return. Most of those were concussion related. Some were like neck injuries as well. But it took years for them just to get back. I mean, Samoa Joe, when we think about it, feels like it's been a long time, especially with the pandemic. But it's probably only been a year or two. It could easily be 3, actually, now that I think about it, just because the way time moves so fast nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we've seen the last of Samoa Joe in the ring. I just don't think it's going to be in WWE anytime soon, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like many people were upset. Why would you release a talent like Samoa Joe? But as you mentioned, we don't know his clearance and if he would ever be cleared by the WWE. There's no reason for him to be there if he doesn't want to be a commentator.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If he wants to wrestle and get in the ring, he's going to probably have to go elsewhere first. And then maybe over time, maybe down the line, he shows up. He's in his early 40s, so he's older. But at this, I mean, you have Ed who came back at 49 years old.
Well, and like for me, that's exactly it. Is that some people will even kind of say like, oh, like this is the end of the line for Samoa Joe, or his career's done, or I mean, if like, yeah, you're getting Edge coming back, you're having AJ go this long, you're having all these other, you had the Undertaker go however long. I mean, do we want Samoa Joe at Undertaker's age wrestling? Maybe not, but I think the thing is there's been a lot of maybe poor booking with him in Impact. He did, and then you have a lot of injuries that kind of took place with Samoa Joe that kind of, limited what he was able to do in WWE. So when you think about it, it kind of reminds me of like the NBA with a guy like, I'm blanking on the name, Grant Hill, who had so many injuries early on in his years, in his early years in the NBA. He was injured, and he ended up playing till he was like, I don't know. I don't want to say a number because I don't know for sure, but it was like way longer than anyone should have been. I think he was technically had like a 20-something year career, almost like Vince Carter as well, where both those guys had some injuries that kind of put them on the shelf a little bit. And but they still were kind of fresh, I guess, in a way because of it. Maybe, I don't know. Everybody's different. Everyone's body's different. But I think we haven't seen the end of Samoa Joe, like I mentioned. I think he can go for another 5-6 years if he wanted to.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'll just briefly talk about his run. He came up in NXT back a couple of years ago. Might have been 4 or 5 years ago already. Honestly, he showed up in NXT, interrupting a Kevin Owens. I believe after the match, they didn't actually wrestle. I believe in NXT because Owens would eventually go on to the main roster. But Samoa Joe did have a feud with Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. At one point, he actually won his first NXT Championship from Finn Balor at a house show.
That's right. I think I kind of remember
and
that.
then he successfully retained against Balor, giving Balor his first NXT TakeOver loss. And then again, he would lose that title to Nakamura in Brooklyn, I believe, and he would go on to win it back not too long after, but then would lose it once again to Shinsuke. So I believe Samoa Joe was the first ever two-time NXT champion. He showed up on the main roster as kind of an associate of Triple H, taking out Seth Rollins. I believe Seth Rollins got hurt for a few weeks, but he was fine to make it for that Mania. Joe would eventually become a United States champion. In fact, I believe he defeated Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania in record time, WrestleMania 35, if I'm not mistaken. It was a really short match. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's pretty forgettable.
I think I think wasn't Ray just injured going into it? Like they had to have a short match just because it was so
like that. So it was really short. It was like a minute long.
I think I do remember
that. But yeah, basically Samoa Joe flirted with the world title scene, but was really not a real contender. I mean, he had the feud with AJ, which got real personal. AJ's family
with his girl Wendy.
That's right. So that was cool.
So funny.
He had a brief interaction with Brock in like a fatal 4-way. I know people wanted that match.
They had the
it was a Great Balls of Fire, I believe.
Great Balls. I was gonna say Cyber Tuesday. I don't know. I was thinking like Taboo
No,
Tuesday.
it was the greatest pay-per-view ever. The Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire. Yeah. I mean, you kind of knew that was gonna be a car crash, but
yeah. So and then, I mean, he got injured early 2020. I believe filming a commercial. That's where he got a concussion.
Well, he had been injured before that, though, right? Because he was coming back from an injury or something.
That's right.
He was coming back. He was already doing commentary. They brought him back. They put him in the commercial. He's in there. I think Gallows and Anderson were also in the commercial or something. Someone's putting Samoa Joe through a table. It's only like a 5, 6, 7 second spot. I mean, it's very quick. Whatever spot he's supposed to be taking through the table, he legit takes a table bump. He legit gets hurt, and then he just wasn't on there the next week. And then it wasn't long after he was back on commentary. So they tried. It's just he got hurt again. Yeah.
So I mean, once you get injury prone, it's just hard to come back from. And obviously, I mean, I think you and I would agree that this was probably a decision made that Joe knew about at some point. Look, they were not going to clear him. He wanted to wrestle. It was probably just best to let him out of his contract. And WrestleMania was his last appearance. He did commentary, so at least he got to kind of go out on a high note.
Right. I think he. I don't want to say it ended on bad terms. I think it's just something where if he really has the itch to get back in the ring, then he has to kind of get back. He wants to get back in the ring. But I think too, maybe that's just based on the way it works out. I mean, contracts are expiring. A lot of them may be expiring after WrestleMania, which I kind of see as their calendar year. They probably have it as their financial year ending or whatever. It's almost not a surprise that they do these releases when they do them. Again, it's kind of like the end of the year. They call it like spring cleaning. It's almost kind of known. I don't think WWE really called it that, but that's kind of what it is. Obviously, last year with the pandemic, as you mentioned, a lot bigger numbers because a lot more people were let go. They were just starting the pandemic. They were kind of tightening things up. So yeah, obviously the numbers weren't as big this year, but it wasn't a surprise. I think the biggest surprise was that there almost wasn't a second wave, because usually I don't know if it was just last year or even maybe years prior where it's been kind of two waves of people. If anything, the second wave was almost like cutting some fat off the NXT roster there at the bottom, some people who haven't really panned out after a few years in the Performance Center. And so they just kind of part ways with them. But just going back to Samoa Joe real quick, I think looking at some of the different promos they've had and they've been showing on Twitter, the one where he gets in Brock Lesnar's face, Brock Lesnar tries to turn his attention to Roman Reigns, and Samoa Joe says, "Hey, you look at me, boy, when I'm talking to you." I mean, how many people can say that to Brock Lesnar? And if if there's anything that needs to make a to hype up a match between Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe, a line like that will definitely do it. There was also the one where Samoa Joe walks to the ring. It's one of those deals where everyone's in the ring claiming they should be the number one contender after a pay-per-view or whatever. And you got 4 or 5 guys in there, including AJ. And Samoa Joe just comes out and just goes after every one of them in a great promo. And then, he kind of goes, he mentions the feud he had with AJ before. And he says, "Hey, AJ, how's my girl Wendy doing?" And, just kind of bringing that storyline back in a quick second with that one-liner there. I just thought was great. Just sometimes you don't appreciate, it's the same thing I think with rappers and hip-hop and everything else. You don't appreciate them till they're gone or they're on their way out or something tragic happens or whatever, but didn't realize how good Samoa Joe was on the mic. I kind of saw it in person when he was in Riverside and he said Riverside was a dump after kind of hyping it up and everyone's like, yeah, Riverside, and he goes, this place is trash. And very heel move. So it was great. I thought he was always great on the mic, but sometimes you have to just look back at some of those old highlights and you realize just how good he was. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of running low on time. We can mention some other people. There's another interesting name I think we'll save for the second segment of those releases, but is there anyone maybe we can talk about real quick in the next few minutes that really stands out to you?
Yeah, so we're going to save a couple names for the next segment because I'm sure we have plenty to talk about there. But let's talk about someone who really hasn't been doing much the last while. I mean, he was injured for a while. He came back, and then he kind of just didn't do much either. Callisto. Let's talk about him. He started out in NXT and ended up being a team with Sin Cara. That's another name.
Which one? No, both of them, right? I think he was there.
I think it was the second one. The second one. They became NXT Tag Team Champions, the Lucha Dragons. If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
They went out to main roster and they just never got the gold there. They split them up. Eventually, he would be teamed with Brandon Metalik and Lindsay Dorado, who are still there. They would become the Lucha House Party. They were really a focal point for the 205 Live division, cruiserweight division, for a while. And as we mentioned, he was hurt for a while, came back last year. And by that point, they just separated him. They kind of looked like they were turning him heel. And they just dropped it. I mean, he would appear on TV sporadically, even in recent weeks, as like a backstage segment, but he wasn't used at all.
It was. Go
ahead.
I just think he was interesting, though. I mean, because it's a guy that they obviously try to invest some time in, because wasn't he like U.S. champion? Didn't he have like 2 or 3 runs with the U.S. title? Wasn't he the cruiserweight champion? Wasn't like he had some singles like success too? Like he was a guy, like he was supposed to be their next Rey Mysterio almost, right?
It's weird. I completely forgot the U.S. title reign.
Yeah.
Was he cruiserweight champion? I don't remember if he was.
I want to say he was. I think he was at one point. Again, the U.S. title was probably the biggest title that he won. I think that was like in a feud with like Apollo or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was in the mix for a while. I think he won it more than once, to be honest with you.
He was a cruiserweight champion. My goodness.
He was, yeah. He was probably one of the first guys I remember with the purple belt. But we'll get to more. We'll get to some more names. There's a few more we'll talk about.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the more releases coming up right here on Beyond. We are 22West Radio. 22West Radio is 22westmedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 139 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk. Of course, we're doing this virtually via Zoom right here. Rob is somewhere in the 22West Radio studio, apparently. Of course, I am in the ring right now because, I like to be on site on things.
For all the action?
For all the action right now. That's currently not happening. And, of course, James is somewhere in a basement. I see maybe a fan. Maybe I see a couple of, what is that, some plaques back there. I see a whiteboard.
Oh, a couple plaques, just a couple awards, no big deal.
Mm.
Award-winning journalist over here.
You talking about me?
Well,
Or
maybe
Rob?
you too. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, all of us have won a little something. So.
Have I? I won
I mean, if
Halloween
anything,
costume contest.
Ethan, you won a special place in my heart. How about that?
Oh my goodness. You know who else won a special place in your heart, James?
Who's that?
And Rob and me.
Who's that?
There's two people.
Oh my God, I know who you're talking about. Yes. So sad.
Billy Kay and Peyton Royce
Yes.
were a part of that list of people that were released. These two were also shocking to me. Probably even more so than Samoa Joe, honestly, because Billy Kay was a part of WrestleMania, had a match. Anything, she was the only one on the list who actually had a match, I think.
Maybe, yeah.
And
right.
Peyton Royce, I mean, even though she wasn't doing,
they kind of were trying to do something with her. I thought, like, that's the thing. Is like, what the? But I feel like they do that on purpose.
I don't know what happened, where they just completely just dropped her out of nowhere.
Like, this was literally like 2 or 3 weeks before she got released. Like before, like it was like within a month or 2 weeks of WrestleMania, you almost kind of thought there was going to be something with her and Asuka, right? She was on Talking Smack or whatever, and it's almost kind of telling when you think about it, because not Talking Smack. What did I say? The Raw one, right? Because I feel like they've done this before, where and part of me wonders if she knew, because she gave this promo like it was from the heart, right? Like she kind of knew, like, which again kind of maybe doesn't surprise me that she got released, because it was kind of like, hey, I've been working my butt off, I'm a good worker, yada yada yada. Like she said stuff and people felt it. Like people, like the other people in the locker room were like, yes, girl, yes, like this is it. You kind of almost think this is going to be her moment, and they release it. Yeah,
so that happened. I know Rob just posted a comment on our chat saying about the third party rule. I don't think it had to do with the third party. I know there were apparently 2 names that were very vocal about their creative, that they weren't happy, that reportedly that would have been the reason why they got released. Apparently, for Billy Kay's part, there was someone that wasn't that didn't get her. That didn't get it. Yeah, no, go ahead. That's fine. That's fine, James. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not here to make
a 60-year-old person who's been there for way too long.
Say his name, Kevin Dunn.
I was gonna get to it. But I was gonna drag it out. But it's fine. Kevin Dunn, of course.
I mean, them people don't know who he is. I barely know what he looks like.
So he's he's a television director, right?
Right. He's been there for years. He's been there for
at least 20 plus years.
Yeah.
If not longer. But he's had obviously influence over a number of things. He's obviously Vince McMahon's right-hand man, or one of Vince's right-hand man. His name is always, I mean, you watch like Ms. and Mrs. or Total Bellas or whatever, his name says executive producer on it.
He's like almost in charge of like the TV department, like or like basically all things maybe kind of TV. He's like right?
So apparently going around was he simply didn't get Billy Kay, and that could have been the reason for her just being cut.
But do you know the misunderstanding here though? Billy Kay has the resume. He just didn't check the resume. She was giving it to everybody. Maybe she just didn't give it to him. Maybe he didn't see it.
I don't know.
She had a resume. She had several copies. She was trying to give it out.
It's very frustrating when you hear stories like that, though, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you put him on TV. Like, what was there not to get? I mean, if any, like, for all the funny haha characters that you have on there, one who is actually funny haha.
He was
like,
good.
What is there to get or not to get? Like, I mean, if there's one, like, if you want to show someone how funny wrestling can be or whatever, like, even when it's not something on a show, it's just like, show them the backstage segment after they won the titles, right? Like, that will forever be like that is the reason why I'm an iconic fan is that alone, where they just went around to everybody, were more or less bullying people and peer pressuring them into saying how great they look with the belts or whatever, or just rubbing it in their faces. That was like classic stuff, just to see them like, I don't know. It was just great. And then me and you went back and forth on social about the highlights of them and with Kayla Braxton and how she just was like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was just so great to see him. And I mean, you know, it's kind of weird because part of me thinks like, oh, were they really good wrestlers, or I don't know, or, you know, I assume they're good wrestlers. I know they both love the business, obviously. I really feel like I didn't get a whole chance. I didn't get a good enough of a sample size to see them wrestle. I mean, it's funny because you can see wrestlers wrestle and they can come off as bad or whatever, but that doesn't really mean they're bad.
Right.
Because that's like Eugene or whoever, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing in there or whatever. But like, no, like if it was really like a wrestling match or whatever, like he'd be pretty like good in there. Or Cena is a better example. I know both of you love Cena. He has the 5 moves of doom, or even Kevin Nash. I mean, that's just the gimmick. I mean, if they had to do something more, they could. But it doesn't, like, why are we going to see Kevin Nash with sleeper hold? There's no need.
Right. So quickly running through their kind of career, they mentioned, and then they've told stories. They grew up in Australia. They met each other being wrestling fans at like signings and stuff. I know Peyton Royce was actually trained by Lance Storm. She obviously got signed. I believe Billie Kay got signed around the same time as well. They kind of started off individually in NXT, kind of not doing a whole lot. I think eventually they would become the iconic duo in NXT, and they would do these iPhone promos behind like the Performance Center and everything. So they were kind of doing those things, sort of like the backstage segments even before, you know, all that stuff. And then they had a nice run in NXT. Then, you know, they were involved in a fatal 4-way, I believe, with Asuka and Nikki Cross, I believe, at one takeover. And they would eventually get called up the week after WrestleMania a couple of years ago. They, I believe, attacked Charlotte and helped Carmella win the SmackDown Women's Championship when she cashed in Money in the Bank. They would become the second ever women's tag team champions at WrestleMania 35. Yeah. Their biggest accomplishment, without a doubt. They did win at Super Showdown, which was held in Australia, defeating the team of Naomi and Asuka, I believe. And unfortunately, last year they were forced to split up for some reason. No one.
Yeah, they trying to kind of test the waters with them and see what they can do individually, but it's just kind of like
they didn't have a plan for them.
And that's the thing. Sometimes they just do it and think they're going to come up with a plan later or whatever, but have something ready for people. Like, that's the biggest thing with the NXT people. That's why people don't want to leave NXT. Like, they know what's going to happen. Like, I mean, I wouldn't leave either, but you know, I mean, that's just the thing. But with them, I just don't see how they would ever run out of funny haha. Like they're just too good.
And absolutely. And Billie Kay, she utilized her TV time in recent months as well as she could. Obviously trying to become a member of the Riot Squad and trying to just team up with anyone. Obviously we saw, I mean, the resume thing.
Her gimmick was her literally floundering around like on the roster, I guess.
Her trying to find a job and trying to find a job. That was literally her gimmick.
Yeah, right.
So then, yeah, I mean, there was a thing, the whole rumor that they were trying to push Peyton Royce, and that's why they kind of separated her from Billie Kay. That didn't seem to be the case. They just put Peyton in a tag team with Lacey Evans. That didn't last long. Lacey Evans got pregnant, and you know that was dropped off.
And honestly, that was the thing is they split up the Iconics and just put them in tag teams. That's really what they did. I mean, it kind of sucked.
Billie Kay got her one final WrestleMania moment this past couple weeks ago, this past year, teaming with Carmella. And I mean, the tag team turmoil match was probably the messiest match of the weekend. But I mean, she got to have one final Mania moment, if anything. And then unfortunately, of course, they were both released. I do know they were very humble about the situation, especially Billy Kay that wrote a nice message thanking everyone, including Vince, for the opportunity. And it seems like they're both they're preparing for the next step. It looks like we might be seeing them to team up somewhere else very soon.
Yep.
Of course, Peyton Royce is married to Sean Spears, who is currently in AEW. So that's potential landing. I mean, if AEW picks up formerly the Iconics, I would probably watch AEW a little better, a little more, just to see what they're doing. But I did buy some Iconics merch, whatever I could get.
That's right, you did.
There wasn't anything left, really, except...
Because it was flying off the shelves, Ethan.
It was pretty much, yeah. So, and Rob keeps asking about Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. They're in Ring of Honor. Nobody watches Ring of Honor, Rob.
Are they? I thought Velvet was on... Isn't Velvet a commentator?
No, that was the other one. Madison Rayne.
Oh.
Yeah, so... but no, I mean, hopefully we'll see them on TV, and if not, wherever they land. But I have a feeling we'll maybe see them down the road in WWE.
I think so too. I was going to say that earlier.
They have a lot of potential for sure. Someone else who has a lot of potential, Chelsea Green.
Yes.
Talk about Chelsea Green.
So the thing with Chelsea Green, and you got to give her credit. So apparently, she was kind of like Samoa Joe. I mean, she got hurt. I guess she had gotten called up. I thought she was going to get called up, but I guess she had already been called up. But she got hurt. I'm trying to remember what the injury was. Was it an ACL? Or she broke an arm?
It was her arm.
She broke her arm or something, and it was like her first or second match, I think, on the main roster, maybe. And she was out, and then she tried coming back, but they just never did anything with her. But the thing I found most interesting about her was that the last, I don't know, sometime before the release, obviously, she spent like 2 weeks in front of Vince McMahon's office. I guess obviously not consecutively, but I guess every time there was a show or anytime there was something that Vince was there for, she was in front of the door trying to get a meeting with him. And she finally got a meeting, and it went for 30 minutes or whatever the case was. And they had, someone kind of told Chelsea Green ahead of time, like, hey, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna sit in front of Vince McMahon's office, if you're gonna want to talk to him, if you want to know what's next for you, you need to come with some ideas. And I believe it was said that she came out with like 20 ideas. She had a whole list, and they spent 30 minutes talking about going through each one and saying why they would or wouldn't work. And she was very thankful, I think, from what I saw with Vince McMahon for that time, and obviously her time in WWE in general. She is married to Zack Ryder, I believe. And Zack Ryder, I'm not sure where Zack Ryder is at the moment. I know he was showing up on AEW a little bit. I think he's just doing independent stuff. I think he has a match coming up with EC3, actually. Go ahead.
So yes, no, Matt Cardona is with Impact right now. I believe he was actually formerly Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers. So they're actually having a feud there. But yes, no, I mean, right after her release, basically, I think she already has new theme music. They were preparing. That's what I heard. In this interview, I think she, at the one that you were talking about, kind of, she also mentioned that she was expecting to be released last year.
Oh, really?
And wasn't expecting this year, actually. But I believe she got a tip ahead of time that it was probably going to happen. And so she wasn't totally shocked.
Right. And so I think the thing that I've heard with some of these is they were told, I don't know if it was anyone specifically or what, but I think, yeah, there was word or rumor going around saying, oh, you might be on the chopping block, you might be released or whatever. And so they start asking around, and people say, no, you're not going to get released or whatever. And they come to find out that some of them ended up, who thought they were going to get released, told they weren't, ended up getting released, which it sucks. But yeah, so she might have been one of them. I thought maybe the Iconics might have been one of those under that category. But just unfortunate, because I'd heard. I wasn't aware of what she did. What was she in Impact before? I think
She did Impact, kind of playing her. I mean, her character was a hot mess, basically playing a psychotic character, and she did really well.
And I heard she did really good at it, and that's something that maybe she tried pitching, or they were saying she might go back to. I think maybe she teased it with a photo or something on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, it's like if you have, I mean, maybe you can't use the same gimmick, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird how things work. Is there another, before we hit the third segment coming up here, is there another name that stands out to you? Mojo Rawley being one for me, I think. You know, with the relationship with Gronk, you know, I mean, you have Gronk as a host of WrestleMania because of his friendship and ties, more or less with Mojo Rawley. I mean, at least that's where it starts anyways. But yeah, I mean, maybe that was his biggest contribution. But he was kind of down for anything, any segment they put him in. He kind of tried to do his best in. I mean, you can't say he never put an effort in.
He was a team with Zack Ryder, the Hype Bros in NXT.
That's right.
Which I don't think they liked, especially Ryder.
Wait, what? Really? Wait.
He's gone. He said it a number of times. He didn't like being in the Hype Bros.
Really?
Zack Ryder didn't know. Wasn't a fan of that. It led to nowhere because I don't think they won anything, anyways.
Yeah, they didn't.
And Mojo never really got anywhere. I mean, he was, when NXT first aired on the network, he was a focal point for a bit.
Really?
I mean, he was one of the guys, and then it just went downhill from there. And
I think he just wasn't really a wrestler. I don't think he wrestled. He was like a football player, right? Obviously, right. I mean, he was on the University of Maryland or something with Gronk or whatever the case was. But I think he just kind of got into it as something after wrestling, after football, and so it was a little bit different for him to try and pick it up or whatever. But I give him credit for his passion.
Yeah. So when we return, we'll briefly go over the remaining releases.
And a very big retirement, in-ring retirement for someone.
That's right.
Two people.
But then we'll talk about someone who's got still plenty left in the tank as well. Of course, who gave a stellar performance this past Tuesday on NXT. Of course, I'm talking about, say it with me, James. L.A. Knight.
I thought you were talking about Cool Kyle, but all right.
Him too. We'll talk about that and more right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22sradio.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 139 of Beyond the Ropes. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James, and producer, Rob. Of course, we're doing this virtually via Zoom, and we're talking about some releases here that happened over the last 10 days. We already talked about a few names. Mickie James was an interesting one. Obviously, she returned about 4 years ago or so. And I mean, she didn't do much since, she really didn't.
I mean, hey, she's almost in the Samoa Joe camp in a way. This last week, she was on TakeOver. She was doing commentary or some sort of analysis, if anything. But I think she was another case where she wanted to get in the ring. She wanted to wrestle. She still wanted to have matches. I think she's someone that AEW should maybe consider. I mean, she could probably go back to Impact as well. I mean, I think one of the weaker points, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you follow it maybe a little closer. The women's division in AEW, I don't think is the strongest, maybe in terms of experience and whatnot. And I think someone like Mickie James having almost in a role like a Chris Jericho, being able another mind that the female wrestlers there can bounce off of and get ideas and different things, and maybe have some matches with some of them and stuff like that, and kind of help get the ball rolling that way with them on the AEW roster. I think she'd be great in that. But yeah, it seemed like they tried doing something with her. You almost thought she was going to be a good fit with on the mic for NXT or whatever. But it's just another case like Samoa Joe.
All right, and then we'll quickly mention these few names. Tucker and Wesley Blake really, unfortunately, didn't go anywhere. Tucker, of course, was a part of Heavy Machinery with Otis, but they quickly realized, Vince quickly realized he wanted Otis as a star, and then now Otis is back in a tag team. And then with, Wesley Blake, he was a part of a team in NXT with Buddy Murphy. And they won the NXT Tag Team Champions.
Oh, wait.
With Alexa Bliss, too.
Wait.
Sir.
So Buddy Murphy's still there.
Oh, Murphy wasn't let go, sir. Come on now.
I was thinking that was Murphy, and I'm like, well, I thought Murphy was kind of doing stuff. Okay, so this is Wesley Blake, and Wesley Blake was in the tag team, right? They were doing the motorcycle thing, no?
And yeah, he was a part of the Forgotten Sons.
Yeah, that.
Two of which now have been released. Riker is, of course, with Elias.
Right.
But yes, the other two have officially been released. Honestly, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. And then
that's why I didn't, I didn't know. Because were they in UK? Were they in NXT UK, or is that what they were trying to do with them or something?
No, they were in NXT. They just.
Oh, see.
Bo Dallas was the last one.
Bo Dallas, yes.
He was an NXT champion, WWE Tag Team champion, and I mean, he was a part of
the NXT World Champion, right?
Yeah, NXT champion.
The longest reigning at one point, or I think in the early history.
In the early history, it looked like they were going to push him early on. Didn't happen. Joined the Miztourage. Became part of the B team with Curtis Axel, and that's it. I mean, unfortunately, he's in real estate now, apparently. So
that's the word. And apparently, he's with Liv Morgan. They own a farm, or they live on a farm or something. And
good for them.
Good for them. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I mean, maybe they kept Bo Dallas on a little bit long because he's the brother of the Fiend, but who knows? What was Bo Dallas's gimmick in NXT? Like
Believe.
In NXT, that was the NXT when he was the champion.
I was originally in NXT, right? I believe. Yeah. Well,
was it really? Yeah. I thought that was a.
Yeah.
I thought that was a Raw thing. I thought that's what he came into Raw as.
So I think originally it wasn't, but then he turned heel. He might have briefly appeared on main roster for like a Royal Rumble or something, a couple of weeks, and they took him down. I think back to NXT, and that's where he had to Believe.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I still have my Believe shirt though. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about NXT stars of today. Of course, I'm talking about. Say it with me, James.
Mr. Knight.
Hey. Night.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You did it. Yeah.
I'm not sold on him yet. He got a fluke win. He got a fluke win.
He got a great promo. They just give him the mic ahead right when he walks out of the locker room. They only do it for him, rightfully so, because he could talk. But he's great. He's a star.
Maybe.
All right. What did you want to talk about Loomis? Dexter Loomis lost.
We'll get into Dexter Loomis.
It's the Daily Knights game. All right. That's not the life. All right.
We'll get into that in a minute, but let's talk about the numbers first. You can maybe give credit to LA Knight for some of the ratings if you want. So
good ratings?
For what?
Are they good ratings?
They're almost. You kind of would have thought they were going to be a little bit better. I mean, I feel like this is almost. It should have maybe been a little bit higher. 805,000 for NXT on April 13th. That was the first Tuesday show, I believe, for NXT. But that Wednesday, so the next day, when AEW has the Wednesday all to themselves once again, it's 1,200,000 1.2 million for AEW on the Wednesday.
Everyone say thank you to Mike Tyson. Thank you, Mike Tyson.
Was that
yes.
Right. That would have been the second week for Mike Tyson, because I think Mike Tyson was there the first when they did the takeover, right? Mm-hmm. So actually this would have been the second Tuesday, or no, because they did Wednesday, Thursday on the takeovers, Tuesday the next. Yeah, so this was the first Tuesday. And so, when you look at the Raw number from April 19th, 1.9 million. So I don't know what I don't know it's on the same channel. I mean, people know how to find NXT. I always think it's kind of the better show.
Adam Cole was
Burnett
on
thinks it's the better show.
Adam Cole was on. That's why.
Adam Cole was not.
Finn
Why
Balor
was he
wasn't
on?
on. Come on, he broke up the Undisputed Era. I mean, what do you expect? The ratings, of course, aren't going to be great. Come on now.
If they were that good, they wouldn't have broke them up.
Maybe they should send the tribal chief over.
Maybe.
Let's talk about our great leader, Seth Rollins. They should send him over to NXT.
Yeah, maybe. Well, he needs to go down there and work on his suits because it ain't doing that for me. Whatever drip he's claiming to have.
Not that drip. Seth Drippin' Rollins, James.
Nah, it's a no for me, sir.
I've been looking at his suits because of him. I've been, I gotta look good.
It's a no for me, sir. But going to AEW or sticking with NXT, sorry for a second. Every time I do kind of catch some of NXT, it's a lot of, or live on TV, I'll kind of go back and catch some more of it after the fact. But the Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell storyline always seems to pop up on my television. It's kind of weird because I kind of feel like Johnny Gargano and Cass LeRae and Austin Theory are taking a back seat at the moment, storyline wise, I feel, to Indy Hartwell, who's kind of now front center of the group.
I disagree. I think this is a collective. This is like a collective thing. They've been great, I think, comedic wise. I think Johnny. I think all of them, but especially Johnny. Theory's always playing kind of the idiot of the group, which is great.
Well, Gargano's feuding with Reed, right? Bronson
Reed is going after him.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a match with Theory, and if he wins, he'll get another title shot. They're intertwining a bit of storylines here. Obviously, Lumis is still involved with Indy Hartwell,
right?
And they're still kind of doing that. So it's nice how they're kind of intertwining everything.
Right. Yeah, you got a few different storylines going on there. So I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool that they're kind of mixing things up and you can kind of tie things together, do some tags, do some different things. I think it's good. I think it's cool. But that one's standing out for me. I keep seeing it on Twitter. Curious to see where they go with it. Indy Hartwell really wants a kiss from Dexter Lumis. Apparently, a lot of people like Dexter Lumis. Huh?
She's got a problem. She needs to be put, controlled. All right.
A lot of people like Dexter Lumis, and he kind of gives me creepy vibes, to be honest. So
he kidnapped Austin Theory. He kidnapped. He kidnapped Austin Theory on live.
He kidnapped Austin Theory. He does that knuckle crawl thing like he's like a snake or something. I don't know.
He's a stalker. He's
like he's a stalker. Yeah, you said it. I said it too, I guess. But he gives off weird vibes. But anyways, so you got that storyline going on. What else do we have?
Who doesn't have weird vibes but has cool vibes, James?
Who?
Cool.
Cool.
Oh, come on. Did you see him in his outfit wearing a jean jacket? No, not our truth.
No, not our truth. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. It sounds like he already has better drip than Seth Rollins does. I'll give you that.
Well, I don't know about that, but he's got on. Apparently, wrestlers aren't allowed to wear jean jackets anymore unless they're Orange Cassidy, because that was a big deal.
Why is that? No, is that true?
Because people were like, "Oh, he's copying Orange Cassidy," but he's just wearing a jean jacket. Come on now, and shades.
Yeah, I mean Triple H wore a jean jacket all the time.
Many people have worn jean jackets on TV before, but anyways, he's wearing a nice fedora, looking good. He had a phenomenal match with Cameron Grimes in the main event, and he's setting his sights on Karrion Kross. So
really,
yeah, he's moving on to that. I don't know if you saw that video of the post takeover where they took Cool Kyle and Amazing Adam Cole to the hospital, and they were side by side, and all you hear, well, you see the video, but all you hear is Adam Cole talking a bunch of trash to him while he was on the stretcher. It was great.
I saw a tweet about it, but I don't know if the video didn't play for me or what, but I saw like you can't keep Adam Cole quiet or something, even on a stretcher. He was, or whatever.
Saying a bunch of explicit words I can't say here, but it was great. You gotta watch it. It's on YouTube, I'm sure.
I'll watch it after this. So is that the last we've seen of Adam Cole, or are we getting him on the main roster, or where are we going with Adam Cole? I still haven't predicted to maybe win the Intercontinental title by the end of the year.
He said
so where are we at with Adam Cole?
He said he's not finished with Cool Kyle. So I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like maybe Kyle will have his maybe match with Karrion Kross, and then maybe Adam comes back in the picture. Because I don't think that's a one and done type match.
No, you're right. I just feel like if they do that again, isn't that what they've been doing with Riley? I mean, at what point are you going to have him be in another title match or another title feud and not be successful?
Or he wins a title and then Cole goes after him. And you bring the title.
Yes, but are they really going to take it off? Are they going to take it off of Cross already?
Maybe they move him up to main roster. Honestly, I mean, at this point, is there really anything else he can do? He's already won the title.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But he's probably only had 15 matches, right? Or something. Like, I mean, he was hurt. Yeah, but like, how many matches did he have before he arrived and was in the title picture? He came in the title picture, right?
I mean, he gives off main roster, Raw, SmackDown.
Oh no, oh for sure. I'm not saying he doesn't at all. But so does Keith Lee, and we haven't seen Keith Lee.
He was injured. I don't know if he's
who he said he's coming back soon. So we'll see about that.
Hopefully.
You want to talk about John Morrison's wife? I don't mean to just keep calling her that. I'm just forgetting the name. Frankie Monet. She's new. I'm sorry. I forget. I can't,
Her and LA Knight just carrying NXT along with Cool Kyle and Cole. I mean, what a star. I mean, all right, let's talk about Frankie Monet. The best women's division on the planet gets another upgrade. I've
never seen her wrestle.
She's a great wrestler.
Is she really good? Is the hype real? Because she's calling herself the best wrestler. She interrupted Beth Phoenix's interview with Io Shirai. Io Shirai coming off her world title or women's title loss to Raquel Gonzalez at the Takeover. First interview back on NXT since that match, and Frankie Monet interrupts, says she's going to take Io's spot. Io says she's going to go ahead and she's going to take some time off, but I don't think she's taking some time off. It looks like we're going to get a good little feud here to start Frankie Monet off in NXT.
Absolutely. She's a great wrestler. She was trained by Lance Storm, another trainee. Then she went down to Mexico, and she's been kind of under the tutelage of Conan. Good friends with Conan. She even learned Spanish.
K-Dog?
K-Dog. She even got the nickname La Güera Loca.
Okay. What does that mean?
The crazy white girl.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. I knew it meant crazy something, but okay.
She had a nice run in Impact. She was, I don't know if she still is, but she was the longest reigning Impact, the Knockouts woman, the Knockouts champion. That's what I'm trying to say. In Impact.
Maybe I do remember her.
What
was her name? What was her name?
She was Taya Valkyrie. She was also in Lucha Underground.
Oh, right.
Alongside John Morrison, and also in Impact as well. They were together there. So yeah, she's built up quite a resume, been around the world, and so now she's here, and looking forward to what she does. Of course, she brought her nice dog Prince.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks great. He's a star. He got the Triple H picture too. Did you see that? You need to follow her on Instagram.
I don't think I have.
So I don't think I have. There's one with her. He's pointing at her, and then the next one he's pointing at Prince. So he
okay.
The Triple H picture.
I don't think I've seen it, but I know what you're talking about. When Triple H likes taking pictures with the NXT with his roster. Very proud of his roster. I don't blame him. Good stuff there.
Another.
Go ahead.
Another superstar, Saray, another Japanese wrestler, made her debut against Zoe Stark. Great match. I mean, she looks well, developed in the ring. So, I mean, we'll see if she's going to be Io Shirai or Asuka levels of good. But nonetheless, she was good in her debut match. So good for her. I mean, this women's division just keeps building and building.
Yeah, I saw this one spot she did where I think it was what's happening on this week's episode of NXT, and they showed her doing this, not belly to back. I don't know what it was.
He was a Saito.
Good back suplex, I guess.
That was her friend.
On someone who was like 3 times bigger than her, and
Yeah,
it was crazy. It was a crazy spot. I was excited. I'm excited to see her work because it looks like she could work with anybody of any size, big, tall, whatever. So, curious to see how she'll adapt to the NXT style for sure.
Absolutely. I believe she's only 5 feet tall, so she's very, very small.
Wow.
But let's quickly, as we're running out of time here, we have to mention our tribal chief. Come on now.
Your tribal chief?
You guys really need to just finally accept it. The bandwagon is leaving. You guys, the train is leaving the station. You guys are missing it.
Look, I'm all in on Roman Reigns. Good dude. Talked to him very briefly at the ESPYs. Good dude. Very good dude. Is he my tribal chief? No.
Oh my goodness. Is he your head of the table at least?
No.
You're not going to leave the head of the table for him. You're going to be disrespectful like that.
My dad would be the head of the table. Roman Reigns is not in my family.
He's not in my family either, but I left him a spot on Thanksgiving. So
that's your business, and you did leave him a spot.
There's footage on. There's an actual picture. I'm
what is Roman up to now? Who is he feuding with? Where?
Apparently, this. I mean, I don't want to say nobody be disrespectful, but this. Come on,
Cesaro.
This underneath guy, Cesaro, is trying to get at him.
Underneath guy, didn't he just mop the floor with your other guy, Seth Rollins, at WrestleMania?
Our Messiah, Seth Rollins, had to teach him a lesson and get involved in that match he had with Jey Uso. Teach him a lesson.
Main event Jey Uso.
Main event Jey Uso. That's right. No, I'm glad you got it right.
Yeah, someone has to get it right here.
But no, Seth Rollins is fully supportive of his former Shield member. Here you go. Because, the WWE on Fox Twitter account's always trying to start beef here.
Okay.
They said, if you had to pick one, who would it be? Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins? This was Rollins' reply.
Okay.
Be blessed that you exist in the moment when you get us both. 2 goats are better than one. And I agree.
Okay. Fair enough.
So SmackDown might be the number 1 show. I mean, just with them 2. Possibly.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they got some good talent there for sure, but we'll see. Also, real quickly, we're getting to the end. Let's keep an eye on not Sasha, but where Asuka, Charlotte, and Rhea go. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Charlotte looks different.
She got suspended, but yeah, she does. She does look.
Well, she got suspended. She was supposedly had COVID. Was back for WrestleMania. I'm not saying she didn't have COVID.
She got a new year. She
looks different.
She do some work done. Get some work done on her face.
All right. I guess she looked different.
Maybe it's makeup.
She looks different.
Hair. I don't know. Maybe there's an alternate Charlotte there. But anyway, we're going to keep it up to date. Until next time, we've got to go. But
we got to go.
So has been absolutely too sweet.